The audio file you are about to hear was submitted by Doug C. to the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. For the full review, I'll leave a link in the description box below. If you or somebody you know has had a miracle or a near-death experience and would like to share that with our audience, please reach out to sallyknop.com. Without further ado, let's get into it. I had been on a long music tour with country artist Merle Haggard. We had traveled all the way to upper western corner of Canada from California and then returned to California. Most of the trip I had spent in the bus bunk with my laptop computer, being my connection to the outside world. We traveled for days, probably 4 or 5. When we finally got back to California, I got in my little car and headed for my home about 40 minutes north on Interstate 5. I hadn't noticed yet that I'd become badly dehydrated during the long trip. I drove to my house in the mountains with little trouble, but it was morning and I was restless. My brother called me from the local casino and wanted me to come down and play some slots with him. Although I felt lightheaded, I was still wanting to do something to break my feeling of restlessness from the long trip on the tour bus. I got in my car and headed back down into town. I arrived at the casino to find my brother and a friend playing slots at the bar. I ordered an orange juice since I was remarkably thirsty and it was too early for a beer. I sat on the bar stool for about 10 minutes playing Keno with my brother and I began to feel extremely lightheaded. I could tell I was going to pass out. So, out of reflex, I tried to stand up to try to regain control of myself. Then everything went dark. My brother says he saw me stand straight up and then became stiff like a board and fall directly backward onto the concrete floor. He also said that blood started to pool at the back of my head near the impact, although I don't remember any of it. Suddenly, I was in the ethereal space, floating without my body. I remember being hyper aware of everything around me, and I could see my body on the floor with my brother and our friend shaking me and yelling at me to wake up. The first thought I had was, man, am I glad that's over with. I also remember being amazed that my sense of humor was still intact and that I was still me in this other place. I remember feeling so good and so light with no cares at all. I felt like I was finally going home and was immediately experiencing the presence through my being that I was communicating with instantly. It said to me first, "Don't worry, we've got you." Every thought I had was described as pure love and acceptance. I instantly knew everything was okay, and I was welcome here, wherever here was. I then felt my focus going out into the heavens, into a warm, dark space with light all around. I knew I was connected to everything instantly, and I knew I wanted to stay here. I can't overstate how much it felt like I had already been there before and that it felt like home overwhelmingly. Then I had a thought that I never wanted to leave this place and wanted to continue further. As soon as I had that thought came, the knowing that I had to return to my body because there was more I had to learn on earth. I felt slightly disappointed at this and thought, but my bravery kicked in and I felt my focus returning to my life on earth. It was then that I had several flashes from the past of interactions I had with others on earth, and I could feel and sense the emotions of everyone involved in the exchange like they were my own thoughts and emotions. I then understood the way that every little action we take in our lives echoes in this place forever, and that we are all connected to each other and to God. I cannot say if I was communicating with God or something else, but I could feel the presence of what I can only describe as God from the moment I transmuted into this form and space. I felt a tug back toward my body and felt myself going through a dark tunnel that ended with my eyes opening slowly and hearing my brother and our friend yelling my name. The paramedics had shown up, and by then I was carried out on a gurney to the ambulance. I tried to communicate what I had just experienced, but I was unable to at the time. The paramedic told me I was in shock, which slowly subsided. I spent the night at the hospital and even received a visit from my employer, Merle Haggard, that night in the hospital, which was a wonderful thing. I haven't talked about my experience much until I began seeing NDE videos on YouTube with other people describing their experiences. It wasn't until then that I realized what actually had happened to me. Since the episode, I no longer am afraid of death because I know in my core that we continue to be ourselves after we leave this body. It has changed my thinking on the subject profoundly. I am very grateful that I was able to get a glimpse of the other side. Since then, I have lost quite a few friends and families who were close to me and know without a shadow of a doubt that I will see them again and that they are experiencing the same love and eternal playground that I got to visit on that very fateful day.